I never thought my life would shatter in a single moment. My name is Daniel Carter, and until last week, I believed I had it all. A loving wife, 2 beautiful kids, and a home filled with laughter. But life has a cruel way of pulling the rug from under you when you least expect it. Our 10th wedding anniversary was supposed to be special. Emily and I had planned a quiet dinner, just the 2 of us, while the kids stayed at my sister's place. I even took the day off work, something I rarely did, just to make sure everything was perfect. I woke up early, made her favorite coffee, and left a handwritten note on the kitchen counter. To a decade of love and many more. Tonight will be unforgettable. Love, Dan. Emily had been distant for months, but I brushed it off. Work stress, she said. Late nights at the office, last-minute meetings. I trusted her. Maybe that was my first mistake. That afternoon, I surprised her with a necklace she'd been eyeing for months. When I called to tell her I'd pick her up from work, she sounded off. Dan, I have to stay late. A client emergency. Can we push dinner to 9? My stomach twisted. Something wasn't right. But I swallowed my doubt. Sure, babe. I'll see you then. At 7 p.m., I decided to drop by her office with takeout, just to cheer her up. The building was mostly empty, but her car was still in the parking lot. The elevator ride to the 5th floor felt longer than usual. Then I heard it. Moaning. My blood turned to ice. Her boss's office door was slightly open. And there they were, Emily, on his desk, her dress bunched around her waist, his hands gripping her hips. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just stood there, my heart pounding so loud I thought it would burst. Emily turned her head, and her face went pale. Dan, I walked out. The ride home was a blur. I don't even remember driving. All I could think was, how long? How many lies? Was anything real? When she finally came home, tears streaming down her face, I didn't yell. I just sat on the couch, staring at our wedding photo on the wall. It's not what you think, she whispered. I laughed. A bitter, broken sound. Really? Then tell me. Emily, what exactly was it? She had no answer, and just like that, my perfect life was over. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen, replaying the scene in my head over and over. Emily's panicked face, her boss's guilty flinch, the way her hands had trembled when she tried to touch my arm. Dan, please, let me explain. Explain? What was there to explain? I had seen it. She cried, begged, said it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, but every word felt like a knife twisting deeper. At some point, I got up, walked to our bedroom, and grabbed a pillow and blanket. You don't have to sleep on the couch, she whispered. I didn't even look at her. Yes, I do. The next morning, the kids came home the next day, blissfully unaware. My daughter Lily ran into the kitchen, her tiny arms wrapping around my legs. Daddy, did you and Mommy have fun last night? I forced a smile. Yes, sweetheart, we did. Emily stood by the counter, her eyes red and swollen. She hadn't slept either. I couldn't do this, not in front of them. So I played the part, made breakfast, laughed at Lily's silly jokes, pretended everything was normal. But inside, I was breaking. The first fight at night, after the kids were asleep, I finally snapped. How long, Emily? My voice was low, but the anger was there, simmering. She flinched. Dan, how long? I didn't mean to yell, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. She swallowed hard. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of her coming home late, smelling like him. Half a year of me believing her excuses. Was it just him? I asked, my voice shaking. Or were there others? She looked horrified. No, just him. I almost laughed. Oh, well, that makes it better. She started crying again. I never meant to hurt you. Then why did you do it? Silence. That was the worst part. She didn't even have an answer. I needed proof. Not for her. For me. To make sure I wasn't going crazy. So while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her phone. And there it was. Hundreds of messages. Can't wait to see you today. Last night was amazing. I love the way you taste. My stomach churned. The dates? Some were from our family vacation, when I thought she was just checking work emails. Then I saw the photos. Oh God. I dropped the phone, like it burned me. The hotel room smelled like stale cigarettes and cheap cleaning products. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. Dozens of missed calls from Emily, a few from my sister, and one from my mom. Word was getting out. I couldn't bring myself to answer. Instead, I opened Emily's Facebook. Stupid. I knew it was stupid. But I needed to see him, her boss, Mark Reynolds. Mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, smug smile in every photo. The kind of guy who wore expensive watches and golfed on weekends. I clicked through his profile, my hands shaking. And then I saw her, his wife, Claire Reynolds, blonde, pretty, smiling in a family photo with their 2 kids, both younger than mine. My stomach twisted. She doesn't know. None of them knew. The first drink he hadn't drunk whiskey in years. But that night, I emptied half the minibar. The room spun. My thoughts blurred. 6 months. Our anniversary. His hands on her. I threw the glass against the wall. It shattered. The hotel called. I apologized, slurring. Then I passed out. The morning after, I woke up to pounding in my skull and my sister's voice. On the phone. Dan, what the hell is going on? Emily called me crying. She said you left? I rubbed my face. Yeah, I did. Why? I hesitated. Then, she's cheating on me with her boss. Silence, then a sharp inhale. Oh my God. Yeah. Are you sure? I laughed bitterly. I walked in on them, Jess. I'm pretty sure. Another pause. Then, do you want me to come get you? I almost said, no. But my hands were still shaking. Yeah, please. The truth about Mark Jess drove me to her place. Her husband, Mike, handed me coffee without a word. I sat at their kitchen table, hollow. Then Jess slid her laptop toward me. I looked him up. I frowned. Who? Mark Reynolds. My chest tightened. She pointed at the screen. He's done this before. I scanned the article. A lawsuit from 3 years ago. A former assistant accused him of sexual harassment. It was settled out of court. He's a predator, Jess said quietly. I clenched my fists. That doesn't excuse what Emily did. I know. But was it really just her? I didn't answer. The other wife. I couldn't stop thinking about Claire. Did she know? Did she suspect? Part of me wanted to call her, to scream, your husband ruined my life! But another part, the part that still loved Emily, despite everything, hesitated. What if Claire blamed Emily? What if she went after her? Why do you still care? I didn't know. The first legal call Jess made me talk to a lawyer, a friend of hers. You need to protect yourself, she insisted. The lawyer, Linda, was blunt. If you're considering divorce, don't leave the house again. It could hurt your custody case. Custody. The word hit me like a punch. I don't know if I want that yet. Linda studied me. Do you want to save your marriage? I didn't answer, because the truth was, I didn't know. Going home. I went back the next day. Emily was in the kitchen. She looked like hell, pale, dark circles under her eyes. We stared at each other. Then Lily ran in, clutching a drawing. Daddy! You're back. I forced a smile. Yeah, baby. I'm back. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't hug her. I should have known the silence wouldn't last. For 3 days, Emily and I moved through the house like ghosts, smiling for the kids, barely speaking to each other. But the tension was a living thing, suffocating us. Then, on Thursday night, everything shattered. The phone call I was in the garage, pretending to organize tools I hadn't touched in years, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me answer. Daniel Carter? A woman's voice. Cold. Precise. Yeah, Who is this? Claire Reynolds. My blood turned to ice. I think we need to talk, she said. The meeting. We met at a coffee shop 20 minutes away. Neutral ground. Claire was already there when I arrived. Back straight, hands folded neatly on the table. Up close, she was even prettier than her photos, but her eyes were furious. How long have you known? She asked before I even sat down. I swallowed. A week. She nodded, jaw tight. I found out yesterday. His secretary finally grew a conscience. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. Your wife, Claire said slowly, wasn't the first. I clenched my fists under the table. I figured. But she was the only one stupid enough to fall in love with him. The words hit me like a slap. What? Claire slid her phone across the table. A screenshot of texts. Emily's number. I can't keep doing this in secret. I need you to choose. You know I can't leave Claire. Not yet. Then I'll tell her myself. My vision blurred. Love? This wasn't just some affair. Emily was in love with him. Claire took her phone back. I'm filing for divorce, and I suggest you do the same. The blow-up eye confronted Emily the second I got home. You love him? My voice shook. She went pale. Who told you? His wife, Emily. The kids were at a sleepover. Thank God. She started crying. It's not like that. Then what's it like? Because from where I'm standing, you were ready to blow up 2 families for a man who used you. You don't understand, she screamed. Make me understand. Silence. Then, quietly, I didn't mean for it to happen. But he listened to me. He saw me. When was the last time you really looked at me, Dan? I recoiled like she'd struck me. That's your excuse? That I didn't pay enough attention? She didn't answer. The ultimatum I slept in the guest room that night. The next morning I handed Emily 2 business cards. The first one's a marriage counselor. The second's a divorce lawyer. She stared at them. You pick, I said. But if you choose him, you walk out that door today. Her hands trembled. Dan, no. No more lies. No more excuses. Choose. The wait, she left the house without taking either card. I didn't follow her. Instead, I called Jess. What if she picks him? I whispered. My sister sighed. Then she doesn't deserve you. The return Emily came back at midnight. I was still awake, staring at the wall, when she walked into the guest room. She placed 1 card on the nightstand. The marriage counselor. I'm sorry, she said, tears streaming down her face. I don't want to lose you. I should have felt relieved, but all I felt was tired. Therapy was supposed to fix us. It didn't. First session, Dr. Bennett's office smelled like lavender and false hope. Emily sat stiffly beside me, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She hadn't touched me in weeks. Why are you both here today? Dr. Bennett asked gently. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Because my wife fucked her boss on our anniversary. Emily flinched. The therapist didn't blink. And why do you think that happened, Daniel? Because she's selfish. Because she wanted to. Emily's voice cracked. It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like, Emily, Dr. Bennett said. Silence. Then, I felt invisible. My chest ached. The realization. We left the session in silence. In the car, Emily finally spoke. He's not my boss anymore. I froze. What? I quit today. I should have been relieved, but all I felt was rage. So now you cut ties? After I had to catch you? She started crying. I'm trying, Dan. Try harder. A passing couple stared. I lowered my voice. You don't get to cry. You did this. You. She didn't deny it. The investigation. I hired a private investigator. I needed to know everything. 2 days later, he called. Your wife wasn't lying about quitting. But Reynolds didn't let her go quietly. My grip tightened on the phone. Meaning, they met at a hotel yesterday. 2 hours. The world tilted. She went back to him, even after choosing therapy, even after begging for forgiveness. The second confrontation. I waited until the kids were asleep. Then I threw the investigator's photos on the kitchen table. 2 days ago, Emily. 2 days. She went deathly pale. It wasn't, I just needed closure. Closure? I roared. You lied to my face! Lily's door creaked open upstairs. Daddy? I forced myself to breathe. Go back to bed, baby, Emily was sobbing. Dan, please. Pack a bag. What? You're leaving. Tonight. The fallout. She called her sister. Came back with a suitcase. I stood in the doorway, blocking the kids' rooms. You don't get to say goodbye. Not like this. Her face crumpled. When can I see them? When I can trust you not to disappear with him. She flinched. Then she was gone. The aftermath. The house was so quiet. I sat on the floor outside Lily's room, listening to her soft breathing. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I cried. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday morning, crisp and impersonal, like a business contract ending a decade of marriage. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Carter versus Carter. I stared at the words until they lost meaning. This was really happening. The first shot. Fired my lawyer, Linda, slid the custody agreement across her polished desk. Full custody, she said. The affair gives us leverage, but we need more. More? My voice sounded hollow. Proof she's unfit, that she prioritizes him over your children. The private investigator's photos, Emily entering that hotel room just days after begging for reconciliation, sat between us. Linda tapped them with a manicured nail. This is gold. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt sick. Mark's empire crumbles. Claire Reynolds called me that afternoon, her voice sharp with vindication. Mark's being forced out. The board found out about everything. Expense reports, HR complaints, at least 3 other women besides Emily. I exhaled slowly. What happens now? He'll slink away with a settlement, but his reputation's toast. A pause. Your wife's about to realize she was just another disposable distraction. The words should have brought satisfaction. All they brought was dread. What happens when Emily hits rock bottom? The 3 a.m. knock, she showed up at my door in the dead of night, drunk and shaking. Dan, please. Her mascara streaked down her face. Her breath reeked of vodka. He dropped me, she slurred. Said I was too messy now. I didn't let her in. Go home, Emily. I don't have a home. She screamed, loud enough to wake the neighbors. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. The cold air bit my skin. You made your choice. She collapsed against me, sobbing. I hate myself. I hate what I did to us. And for the first time, in months, I held her, and hated myself for it. The morning after, he called her sister. Watched from the window as Rachel loaded a trembling Emily into her car. Then I poured every drop of alcohol in the house down the drain. Not like this. Not ever. Again, the courtroom smelled like lemon polish and stale coffee. I sat stiffly in my suit, watching Emily's trembling hands as she signed the last document. 10 years of marriage. Ended in 10 minutes. The last lie. The judge had just finalized everything. When Emily grabbed my arm outside the courthouse. Dan, wait. I turned. Her eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. Mark never loved me, she whispered. But I did love you. I just forgot how. I pulled away gently. That's the problem, Em. Love shouldn't be that easy to forget. The first night alone, the house echoed without the kids' laughter. I sat on Lily's bed holding her favorite stuffed rabbit. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire Reynolds. He's gone. Took a consulting job overseas. You were right. He cut ties with everyone, including her. I didn't respond. Some fires burn out on their own. The visitation. Emily showed up exactly at 2 p.m. Sunday, just like the custody agreement said. Lily ran into her arms. Mommy! My son, Jake, hesitated. You coming back home? Emily's face crumpled. Not today, baby. I looked away. Some wounds take years to heal. The letter he found it 6 months later, tucked in Lily's backpack. Dan. I see now what I threw away. Not just you, the family we built, the home we made. I'll spend the rest of my life regretting that. But I'll spend every day trying to deserve them again. I folded it carefully, put it in my drawer, and left it there. Was Dan too harsh? Too forgiving? Should he have fought harder for his marriage? Was divorce the only way? Could you ever forgive a betrayal like this? Let me know in the comments. Your stories amaze me every day. Thank you for watching to the end. This story wrecked me to write. Real love isn't perfect. It's messy, painful, and sometimes not enough. If this resonated with you, smash that like button, subscribe for more raw, real stories. Check my other videos on love, betrayal, and second chances, and remember, no matter what you're going through, you're stronger than you think.